When we think of Bnei Israel in the desert, we think of their constant, almost childish complaining, lacking a broad perspective. Bnei Israel complains about having no water 3 times earlier in Shemot. In Parshat Chukat, at first glance, it seems that 40 years later, nothing has really changed. But in actuality, a lot has changed, and should have changed. Bnei Israel has witnessed Hashem grant their requests time and time again. If Bnei Israel wants water, Hashem will give them water. Why do they lack faith? Furthermore, it's rather odd that Hashem gives in to their complaining and tells Moshe to provide them with water. At this point, Bnei Israel should know that Hashem will always be there for them. Why does Hashem make it seem like their complaints are justified? This moment, at the outset of Parshat Chukat, marks a turning point in our history. Many Mefarshim say that after Korach's rebellion, there were no survivors from the generation that left Egypt. Thus, when Hashem gave in to Bnei Israel's complaints, he was dealing with an entirely different generation. This generation would have to prove to Hashem that they were fit to conquer the land of Israel, and like their predecessors, they would be given more than one chance to do so. In the beginning of Parak Chav Aleph, it says that the Canaanite king heard that Bnei Israel was coming their way and waged a war against them, taking some of them captive. The first generation had already set a precedent regarding what to do in a situation like this. When the spies were sent to scout out the land of Israel, they came back saying that they had no chance against the strong and powerful people who were already living there. They showed no faith in Hashem and even begged to Moshe to take them back to Egypt. This generation, however, had learned from their ancestors' mistakes. They swore to Hashem, saying that if God gave the Canaanite people into their hands, they would destroy their cities. Hashem heeded their plea and gave the Canaanim into the hands of Bnei Israel. This new generation wasn't so quick to give up. They were already at war and losing, and with much resilience and faith, they looked to Hashem to save them from their imminent death. However, this generation has its flaws as well. Just 2 psukim later, the nation is already back to complaining about the food. While it seems like Bnei Israel is back on the path of their parents, there are a few differences in their language that show a change of character. While the previous generation used words like vayarev and vayalonu, this generation's complaining is described using the words vayedaber. In addition, the nation didn't go straight to Moshe. They also addressed Hashem. Nonetheless, their complaints were still met with consequences, as it says that Hashem sent fiery snakes to bite the people, and many of them died. Again, the people are tested to either prove to Hashem that they can acknowledge their sins and ask for forgiveness, or show Hashem that they are no different than their ancestors. Ultimately, the people reacted to the snakes by approaching Moshe, recognizing their mistake, and asking Moshe to pray to Hashem on their behalf. While they went to Moshe instead of praying to Hashem themselves, they still acknowledged that Hashem is in control of everything, and only through him can they be saved. Thus, when Moshe prayed for the people, his prayers were answered. Hashem told Moshe, "Make a fiery snake, place it on a staff, and whoever looks at it that has been bitten will live." This idea of the people looking up at something that Moshe raised to be saved from a calamitous attack is very reminiscent of Amalek, about which states that while Moshe's hands were raised, the people would win, and while they were lowered, they would lose. In Masechet Rosh Hashanah, it explains that this is a metaphor for the people's attitude towards Hashem. When they were looking up and putting their faith in God, they would win. But when they had their heads down, focusing on their own strength, they would lose. Here, in Parshat Chukat, Hashem is reinforcing that idea. So long as the people see Hashem as the sole source for their successes, failures, sustenance, and guidance, they will be okay. Parshat Chukat marks the turning point in the fate of Bnei Israel. While the first generation was punished greatly, the second generation will continue to learn from their mistakes and hold on to the lessons that Hashem has taught them. The greatest one being that at a time of success or at a time of failure, we must all turn to Hashem. It is significant that their path was not in a straight line upwards, but was bumpy. They were to make mistakes, but learn from them, and eventually develop a more faithful and dignified perspective, and to truly create a close relationship to God. Shabbat Shalom.